Thanks very much. Let me be very brief. For a start, I applaud the President, Secretary Kerry, for their efforts in a very crazy and dangerous world to create an agreement with Iran which prevents Iran from acquiring a nuclear weapon. This is a huge breakthrough. Obviously, the devil is in the details. All of us are going to study those details, but this is clearly a major step forward. Let me also welcome Secretary Clinton back to the United States Senate, where she served for 8 years. I very much look forward in this campaign to a serious debate about the very serious crises facing our country. I don't like negative campaigns. I've never run a negative ad in my life. I believe the American people are entitled to serious discussion about serious issues. Secretary Clinton and I disagree on a number of issues. There are issues where we come from the same place. Some of the areas that we disagree are on trade. I happen to believe that the trade agreements that have been passed here over the last 3 decades, NAFTA, CAFTA, the Chinese trade agreement, TPP, have been disastrous for American workers and have led to the loss of millions of jobs. Secretary Clinton, I believe, has a different view on that issue. I strongly oppose the war in Iraq, and if you go to the remarks that I made when I was a member of the House, sadly, tragically, much of what I predicted, in fact, took place. I voted against the so-called USA Patriot Act because I feared very much that while we have to be vigorous in protecting this country against terrorism, we could do it without undermining the constitutional rights or the privacy rights of the American people. I happen to agree very strongly with Pope Francis that climate change is the great planetary crisis, environmental crisis that we face. I have helped lead the opposition against the Keystone Pipeline. I don't believe we should be excavating or transporting some of the dirtiest fuel on this planet. I think Secretary Clinton has not been clear on her views on that issue. When I was a member of the House, I helped lead the effort in opposition to the deregulation of Wall Street. I happen to believe that Wall Street has far too much power, much too much concentration of ownership and wealth there. I believe that we should break up the major financial institutions and certainly go forward with restoring Glass-Steagall financial regulations. To the best of my knowledge, that those are ideas that Secretary Clinton does not agree with. I have been very specific in saying that when we have millions of people in this country who are working for disastrously low wages, that the $7.25 an hour minimum wage here is a starvation wage. We need to raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour. We need to invest $1 trillion in rebuilding our infrastructure, creating up to 13 million jobs. Those are very specific ideas that I have. I think the Secretary has not been quite so clear on those issues. Lastly, I believe that if we're going to rebuild the American middle class, we need to make public colleges and universities tuition free and pay for it through a transaction tax on Wall Street speculators. The Secretary's position, I think, is unclear on that. So,
what do you think of the Iran deal?
I think it is, well, obviously the devil is in the details, and we've got to look at the details, but clearly, in an unstable, dangerous world, I think this is a significant step forward, and I congratulate the President and Secretary Kerry for their incredibly hard work on this.
Senator Sanders, what connection is there between the current laws on campaign finance and the very vociferous opposition that we're hearing from many presidential candidates to the Iran deal?
Well, it's not only the Iran deal. I think one would be naive not to understand that of all of the issues that I have talked about, that of all of the issues that face the American people, from climate change to health care to the Iranian agreement, this disastrous and corrupt campaign finance system that we have impacts all of them. And I would specifically talk about climate change. I do not believe that my Republican friends do not understand the science. I think they are afraid to come out and take on the Koch brothers, take on ExxonMobil and say, you know what? Maybe climate change is real. Maybe it's a real threat to this planet. Maybe we have to do something. And if they say that, the next day they will be challenged in primaries with huge amounts of money coming from the big energy companies and from the Koch brothers.
How did it go today in your session with Secretary Clinton? Did you speak with each other?
So, I've known the Secretary for 25 years. I knew her as First Lady. Obviously, I knew her when we were together here in the Senate. I like her. I respect her. And I hope that we can run a campaign where we can express the differences of opinion that we have and do it in a way that is straightforward. It is not necessary, I think, for people to dislike each other or to attack each other just because they're running for office. And maybe one more question. Yes, sir.
Sanders, don't the Senate ethics rules say you shouldn't campaign for presidential office here in the Senate?
Campaigning here. I'm
But you're talking about your differences.
You're asking me questions about it. Thanks, everybody. Okay, thank you all.